achievement. They called you when they got you to believe it. Thumb and finger held to their foreheads in an L shape, trapped in a capitalist hellscape. Let's fight back and have some talks about class and the massive cost of the disastrous plots of fascists and Nazis, fat cats and fox. It's 1,000 natural shocks. A Bad with Money podcast.
Hello and welcome to 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast. I'm your host, Gabe S. Dunn, and I just quit my job. Well, not all of my jobs. I quit my day job, and it seems like kind of a yay situation, which I think it is for probably Allison, who's been wanting me. Allison's my other co-host, who's been wanting me to do it for a while. But the reason for it is a bit sad. I had to quit because the job required being on my feet a lot, and it required a lot of lifting. It was in a pet store warehouse, so I was walking around and lifting and placing things and just kind of generally doing manual labor. And about a week ago, I got my official fibromyalgia diagnosis from a rheumatologist. I had gotten it from a neurologist. She sent me to a rheumatologist, and he did some, tests. You can't really test, but he ran a bunch of tests and checklists, and he was like, yeah, that's what you have. So for those of you who have been following my medical journey, I almost exactly a year and a month ago, my hands and arms went numb. My thigh had been numb for a while, but I had been told there was really nothing I could do about that because they believed it was myalgia paresthetica, which is just a trapped nerve that you can't really fix once it's dead. I have since been told that it might be possible to fix it, but so my hands and arms went numb. That was extremely scary. I did a bunch of EMGs. I was diagnosed with carpal tunnel. Things kept getting worse. I had terrible brain fog. I was tired. I couldn't remember things. I would open a tab and just immediately forget what I was supposed to be doing, even though I literally had it written next to me. I was dropping cups and phones, and I was putting things away. Like I'd find my milk in like a drawer. Like it was like really, really bad and scary. I was like worried that I had dementia. And as someone who uses words for a living, I stopped being able to speak quickly and to say what I meant. So a lot of my language became stunted, like trying to talk around what I wanted to say in order to express what I was trying to say. The best example it was like I wanted to tell my friend to grab me a grocery cart, but I could not remember the word for grocery cart, and so I just blurted out food stroller, things like that. And so we did a lumbar spine MRI, and there was a lot of problems there, bone spurs and degenerative discs. And then we did a cervical spine MRI, and it was more of the same. There was pinching and a lot of problems. So I was doing physical therapy for my neck, but then we did a brain MRI to rule out MS, among other things, and it was clean. So after the physical therapy for my neck was like helping, but it wasn't making my hands not numb, I started sleeping with braces. Then I got a cortisone shot in my wrists, which was the most painful thing I've ever experienced, and that seemed to help a little bit. Then my elbows started to go even more numb. There was still balance issues. There was still being tired. It's hard for me to type for long periods of time, which is literally my job. But in the meantime, I needed money. And so I took this gig, and one of the components was about being able to lift and work in the warehouse. I'm a trans guy, and I was delaying quitting this job that was clearly causing me extended physical pain. So I only took one day off because of my back, truly. And I had a lot of pride about it. And it's like a retail job, right? Which I'm so lucky to have. Like I got hired a year or more, 2 years ago, at the first retail job I had by the skin of my teeth. Somebody took a chance on me. I had no experience in retail. And so from there, because that was such a good job, I was able to pivot and get a job closer to home, which I was already dealing with physical health problems at the first retail job. So I was like, okay, I'll fix the problem by getting a job closer. That way it's not a harsh commute. I can go home in the middle to take care of my dog. I don't have to bring him with me, all these things. And I did that. And then my health just kept declining. And I didn't want to admit it. The thing about this job that held so much power for me, even though it was just a job. And, Allison has pointed out that I will tell so many other people it's just a job, or tell so many other people to figure out ways to take care of your health. I, one, felt that I didn't have a choice because I was deeply, deeply nervous about money. And honestly, the biggest incentive that I feel that I can leave this job is that Allison is leaving just between us, which frees up her half of the money, which she told me it's not why she's leaving or anything. She had a baby. And then also, she felt a little bit burnt out, and we agreed that I would take over and do my own show there with Melisa. If you're a listener of JBU, pop on over to our Patreon. I'm now doing a show called Best Gabe Ever, which is going to launch in January. And we're still going to be doing TLDRI as a segment, as a episode, and then we'll be doing Best Gabe Ever, which is my show, new show, comedy show, not this show, a comedic show at the Patreon for patreon.com/justbetweenus. And so from there, her leaving frees up a little bit of money. And that's the only reason I feel comfortable to quit, even though it's going to be a financial hit that I can't really take. But I'm banking on the other show, the Patreon picking up in that way. And I have built up my Substack, which I used to write until 3 a.m. to get it out on Thursdays. Now I will have some time to maybe put more effort into it. I feel like I do put a lot of effort into it. But I thought to myself, if I can focus on the other aspects of my work, then I might not need this retail job. Look, I'm probably going to regret this. Like, I will always need extra money. It's impossible to find a job these days. It was like so crazy, even landing this job. I was concerned about leaving an opening for my coworkers because I felt so guilty. But I spoke to Allison, I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I'm so scared. And she reminded me that a lot of people need jobs, and that if this frees up a position for someone who needs a job, that's okay. Like that, that's not a bad thing. So I had to admit too that part of it was pride, because as a trans person, especially a trans man, I wanted to believe that I could do the warehouse gig. I wanted to believe that I was just as strong as these men who were doing it, that I was one of them, that I could tough it out, that I could stick it out, that I could go through the hazing, that I could do it, that I could lift, that I could do all these things. And it was this fixation on masculinity rather than on admitting disability. I think, one, I didn't want to admit that I was sick and that I needed to overhaul everything in accordance with being sick, and that I'm going to need to have treatment, which I started doing. I'm admitting it, and I've started doing some of the treatments. So I would have to do some of the treatments. I would have to slow down. I would have to take into account living with a disability, which I really, really did not want to do, and I feel happened to me and I find unfair. And I also didn't want to admit that I couldn't hack it as a man, that a warehouse was a men's job. I was doing a men's job. I felt very affirmed by that. And now it's true. I was weak. I can't do it. And it's internalized transphobia. It's internalized, misogyny, and the idea that women can't do what men can do. And also the misogyny of, there was a woman who worked there too. And she was better at it than I was. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like so weak. I'm not even a man. It's like so complicated. And then also feeling like, okay, I'm a man, so I have to be able to lift the same amount as these other men, and I have to be able to tough it out. Like hazing. Like it felt like hazing. Like I said, like I wanted to prove myself as a man in a warehouse. It felt good to say I worked in a warehouse, honestly. It felt good to say that to people because I felt like I was shattering expectations. I felt like I was like being a guy. And so, I had a guy's job. And when people would say, "Where do you work?" I could say a warehouse. But I was in so much pain, so much pain. And the diagnosis a week ago, the official fibromyalgia diagnosis a week ago, I have to admit it changes things. All kinds of people can be disabled. I know better, and yet I am not immune to society's ideas of what a man should be. Have I proven myself not a man by not being able to do a warehouse job? Have I proven myself not a man by quitting and not doing the best I could do? For not being the number one best employee, for not being incredible at this job? But that's about other people. And I got to figure out a way to make up for this money without compromising my health and shredding my body. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. I need the right person with the right background who can move our business forward. If I wanted candidates who match what I'm looking for, I'd trust Indeed sponsored jobs. I actually found my job on Indeed, and it was so easy to search through what I wanted to do and my skills and find the right place that was looking for exactly what I could offer. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post even seen on other sites. Give your job the best chance to be seen with Indeed sponsored jobs. They help you stand out and hire quality candidates who can drive the results you need. Sponsored jobs boost your posts for quality candidates so you can reach the exact people you want faster. And it makes a big difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs because you reach a bigger pool of quality candidates. Join the 1.6 million companies that sponsor their jobs with Indeed. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. Now with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/badwithmoney. Just go to Indeed.com/badwithmoney right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/badwithmoney. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed. Fibromyalgia is a tough one because it's myofascial. So it's in, the muscles and the nerves. And my nerves have been shot for forever. Fibromyalgia comes from trauma too. And there's also the pain of admitting that trauma has seeped into your body. So there's the pain of admitting that something sprung up because of trauma. I think there's ways in which it could just show up, but there's definitely no backing down from the fact that trauma has contributed to this. And when you can't face something mentally, at least for me, it sure does like to show up physically. I already was in fight or flight for most of my life. Every massage I've ever gotten, the person has been actively alarmed by how tight my muscles are. When I was a little kid and I'd get my nails done, the manicurist would always comment on how my hands were not relaxed. And I'm talking like elementary school. She would be like, "Relax, relax." And I would try to relax my hand and I'd say, "I am relaxed." And she would say that, "No, you're fighting me." I sleep with my fists clenched. I wake up in the middle of the night and my shoulders are by my ears. I have to actively remember to sit up straight and pull myself out from like being hunched to myself. I'm a confident person. I'm an extroverted person. But I also am very quick to shut down. And I already have bipolar 2. That already requires a lot of taking care of myself that I don't do enough. And last year when I got attacked in my car, November 12th or 13th, it happened. And someone took a glass breaker to the windows of my car while I was in it. It's a long story. You can find it on my Substack. I think I've also spoken about it on here. But right after that is when the problems with my hands started. And the consensus from the doctors that I've seen has been that triggered the fibromyalgia. That triggered the problems with it becoming something that has an official diagnosis. And part of me was upset because I thought if it was something that people took seriously, it would make a difference on how embarrassed I was of it or how much I felt that it deserved people's attention or that it deserved me even taking care of it. Like if it was something dire or something, which this is dire, but if it was something cancer, MS, I don't know, I'm not wishing that on myself or on anyone. And this is like so nuanced and complicated. But then I could feel comfortable slipping out of toxic masculinity and slipping out of my self loathing and my internalized transphobia to allow myself to be sick. But I don't think I would have. I think that's a false narrative of mine. I take pride in falling apart, and that's the truth, and that's the problem. There's a little bit of me that enjoys how hard I can work and how much I can work myself to the bone and how hard I can go and how much I can push myself to do the jobs that other people can't do. That I'm the special trans man who can do this. That when, by the way, some of the trans men I know that have so many more muscles than me could probably do this job with one hand. But even that's internalized transphobia and toxic masculinity, making me sound like fucking Jordan Peterson, needing to be the most like buff, Joe Rogan-esque type situation, man situation. That's a throwback to the Jersey Shore. I'm a millennial. And so it's this idea of needing to be so strong all the time to prove myself. I'm the overachiever. I take it personally when I have to quit something or leave something. I wish I had this laissez-faire attitude. I wish I wasn't a perfectionist, but it's not perfectionism. You know what it is? It's people pleasing. It's taking pride in being the person who can please the most and to the detriment of my own physical and mental health, and that I can just recover from things quickly. That I can just have the worst possible things happen to me and just bounce back with a smile. Or not really a smile. It's more of a smirk because it's self-satisfied. Because there's no reason for it. Because the path of least resistance to me is to hurt myself. So I quit. I did quit. I'm scared of like a negative reaction. I'm scared that I won't have money. I'm scared. I mean, the Substack is doing really well. Like if you subscribe to the Substack, that's really helpful, even as a free subscriber, because it does boost me. And I'm going to be starting this new show, without Allison, and she has graciously agreed to take a little percentage, but let me have the feed and the Patreon, that we both worked on it. I would not say but she did what she needed to do for her mental and physical health. And I feel backed into a corner by disability, to be honest. I don't want to give myself too much credit. So I just have to find a different way. And that way involves admitting some realities about my life that I don't want to admit. But once I do, I gotta imagine it will feel better. My health insurance premium is going up in the new year. I think that's happening to a lot of us. And so is it an ideal time to need to go to the doctor a lot? No. Especially when, I don't know. I've never applied for disability. I've done, food stamps and other types of subsidies, but I've never applied for disability. I guess I could. I think it caps a lot of things for you, and there's a lot of check-ins and there's a lot of restrictions, and I know a lot of people use it because they need to, and it's a necessary thing. And I'm all for taking whatever the government take it. Please take it. See, it's the different standards for myself. Because I also am like, well, do I really need to take it? And then also I'm worried about what restrictions it puts on my life. So I don't know. I quit an hour ago. I'm literally recording this now. I don't know what the future is going to hold without this bit of income. And I know the good things that are to come creatively for me. And I know that I will have more time to dedicate to my activism, which is the most important thing to me right now. For instance, because I'm not working, I will be able to go early tomorrow to an immigration hearing for a friend of mine to make sure that she doesn't get deported to Bangladesh after she got out of a heinous, abusive detention center. And usually her hearings are at 7 a.m. And I had been going straight from my overnight shift at the warehouse without sleeping to the hearing. And now I won't do that. Now I'll get a good night's sleep and then I'll go to the hearing. So Some of you have been really lovely and sent me tips for fibromyalgia, DM'd me on Instagram at Gabe S. Dunn, or written to me on Substack, 1000naturalshocks.substack.com. One person sent me a slideshow about disability that was really, really helpful. And I have to take care of what's wrong with me. I don't want to shred my body into making it worse. And doing that for myself is hard. And I'm going to sit down, I'm going to figure out what the health insurance stuff looks like because it's unbearable. I mean, the ways in which people are having to pay double. That's the other fear, is that if I talk about being disabled publicly on this show, is that going to hinder my ability to do things? You know, if I'm not super educated, but for example, an official autism diagnosis makes it a little bit more difficult to immigrate to certain countries. So, you know, ableism is everywhere, and I'm wondering if I'm walking into an ableism trap. This is a new identity for me, if I even want to call it an identity. I don't know. I have a lot more work to do on making sure that I'm not reveling in sacrifice and using it as a way to make myself feel like the type of person I think others want me to be, or the type of person that will receive the treatment and being seen how I want to be seen. Not being disabled doesn't equal masculinity. And I gotta get out of there. So, at least Allison's proud of me. I'm super scared. Well, that's December 18th for you. Yeah, if anyone has any information or tips or anything, I think Gabe is bad with money is at gmail.com is still it is still an active Gmail account if you want to send it there. Social media is the best place. Substack, Instagram. Shout out to the multiple people who have sent me information about disability from me speaking about this on Substack. And that PowerPoint. Of course, one of you has a PowerPoint. Okay. Love you. Bye. 1000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast, is a production of Noted Bisexual, produced by Melisa D. Monts and Diamond MPrint Productions, edited by Diane Kang, post-production sound by Coco Lorenz, and music by Zach Sherwin as sung by Sam Barbera. Thank you, love you, bye!